This is Hammer Striker here, and today we've got the biggest, baddest Glock ever made. This is the Glock 40 Gen 4 MOS, and the MOS stands for Modular Optics System, and I'll show you how that works as we work our way through it. But this is chambered in 10mm, which is an extremely powerful cartridge, and this is truly the largest Glock ever made. So let me go through a few of the specifications on it so that you can see what it's all about. So the first thing we'll do is we'll start by showing that it is unloaded. This gun, from the furthest point at the back of the grip to the front, is approximately 9.5 inches long. The slide itself is just a hair under 9 inches, and it gives you about an 8.2 inch sight radius. It does have the standard Glock sights. You can see here the U dot at the back, which of course I've got this Burris Fastfire 3 on here, which we'll talk about in a moment. That does not co-witness, so it does interfere with being able to use the sights, but they do provide this little white line at the back here that can replace, can kind of replace the sight if the optic was inoperable. It's 5.5 inches tall from top to bottom, and it uses the same magazines as the Glock 20, so it has the same capacity of 15+1. The gun itself is 28 1/8 ounces unloaded, so it's a relatively heavy gun, but not excessively. It's a little over 40 ounces when it's fully loaded with 16 rounds of 10mm. It has all the same other characteristics of a Glock that you're used to. It has the same safeties, the same operating mechanism, and all of the other characteristics you've gone accustomed to in a Glock. There's just a few minor differences due to the size of it, which you'll see as we take it apart. Now, the modular optics system, there's a plate that's not present. It's right here. This plate was on the slide when I picked up the gun, and you'll notice it has the serration so that when it's installed on the slide, it looks like it belongs there. It's part of the gun. And this can be removed with just a simple hex wrench. And once you've removed this, you now have a depression in the slide that allows you to put in a plate. And the gun comes with this little kit of a handful of adapter plates, and these adapter plates adapt it to the mounting pattern of the common optics that are out on the market, Trijicon and a few others. Now, there is an issue with the Trijicon RMR with the screws not being the right length, and Trijicon sells another kit you have to buy that goes in conjunction with this that has like a rubber membrane and some longer screws, that part of the waterproofing of it and the length of the screws so that it'll actually mount. This Burris, though, mounted with just what came with the Burris and this kit that came with the Glock. And this also comes with the hex wrench that you'll need. So if you choose to install an optic on this gun, you would remove the existing plate, put the appropriate adapter plate for the optic you've chosen, and mount your optic on it. It's that easy. And you'll see with the range footage, we found it very easy to shoot this gun well with this particular optic on it. You pretty much swing it up. Where the little red dot is where the hole's going to go, and it was very easy to get exceptionally tight groups with this gun. Teardown on this is the same as basically any other Glock. You remove the magazine, pull the trigger, and slide the slide off. The frame is internally identical to the Glock 20, other than you have much longer dust cover. And you have a little bit of a support piece in there, a little metal piece that's part of some additional support. But overall, basically, you just got a slightly longer Glock frame. But all the internal components and functionality of it is the same. As I did mention, this is a Glock 4, or I'm sorry, a Gen 4, and it did come with the minus connector, what used to be called the 3.5 pound connector. So it results in an overall trigger pull of around 4.5 pounds. When I put it back together, I'll show you the trigger on it. It's got the typical nice trigger of the large frame Glocks. The slide itself, the back part of it and the components you're used to are basically the same. There is a slight difference with the recoil spring. It is a dual captive recoil spring just like the others. It's a little bit longer, and it sets into a recess that's up here in this little tunnel towards the barrel end of it. So instead of protruding through the front of the slide like most of the other Glocks, it actually fits right up close. So when it snaps into place, you'll see that it doesn't go very far in there. And that's fine. And then of course when the gun cycles, it'll protrude out into here when you have it cycled. And then you have this very long 6-inch barrel. And with the 10mm, the power of the 10mm varies based upon the particular manufacturer's loading. You know, some of the typical loads you get are actually not loaded a whole lot heavier than 40, but there are companies out there like Underwood and Big Bore that will load 10mm to its appropriate specs. And with the longer barrel, you have less unburned powder when the projectile leaves, so you do actually get more of a velocity increase with the longer barrel and 10mm than you do with some of the other rounds where the powder is actually burnt completely within the length of, let's say, a 4-inch barrel. Other than that, you have the same barrel locking mechanism, feed ramp, and barrel block that you have on any other Glock. It's just a lot longer. It is fully supported so that this chamber can fire, you know, Underwood and some of the other more powerful rounds that only rate their rounds for certain guns. Glock and Ruger and a couple others are always consistently in the list of guns that can safely shoot these rounds. So you can pretty much put anything you want to in here. You do have to concern yourself with bare lead. It's got the polygonal rifling like any other Glock. So, you know, bare lead's not recommended. You might be able to get away with a couple of them, but after that you do risk leading of the rifling and potentially overpressure. Cleaning this would be the same as any other Glock. You can access the rails. The rails do end, if I can get it where I can get it in view, the rails do end in the open part right here. So the rails don't go up inside here. So you clean this, you have open access to it just like you do on any other Glock. And of course it is a drop safe weapon. Here you have the drop safety. Reassembly is actually relatively easy. Despite the length of the barrel, it just drops into place. There's plenty of room to rock it into place without having to fight with it or hanging up. And because the recoil spring mounts close up like I mentioned, it pretty much just snaps into place. So despite the size of this, it's not any more difficult to handle, break down, or maintain than any other Glock. Let me go ahead and put it back together. So now you have a reassembled functional Glock. So let me show you the trigger on this. So it has about the same standard take-up. Nice crisp wall, short break, crisp break, and then the standard relatively short Glock reset, and when it does reset it's audible and tactile. You're right on the wall, and a very short crisp break again. So follow-up shots with this are very easy to manage, and the size of it and the weight of it does control recoil exceptionally well, so it's easy to get it right back on target. And if you choose to use an optic like the Burris Fastfire or a Trijicon RMR with that red dot, once you get used to operating the red dot, target acquisition and getting back on target is exceptionally easy. Glock does target this towards the hunting market. You know, this is something that you would take for bear repellent or for hog hunting. I've taken it on hog hunting trips, and it's an exceptional weapon for that type of thing. But it's also a lot of fun to shoot at the range. And despite the power of the 10mm round, it handles recoil well, so it's comfortable and pleasant to shoot. If you want to hang on for some more range footage, and if you like our videos, give us a thumbs up, share, subscribe. Have a great day. Thank you.